Let's just go down the rabbit hole here for a second. Let's just assume this is some sort of adversarial or foreign technology.
Most of the more than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades are not from the U.S. military or other advanced U.S. government technology.
It's right in front of me, it just disappears. Disappeared. Like gone.
To be clear, he's referring to this giant object as a tic tac instead of a shape like one.
We're in, that we don't know what these things are, and they might even be extraterrestrial. That's worse.
Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We've got a special report for you tonight. We have a special guest. Well, we have a couple guests tonight. We're bringing in Richard Giordano from GoofOn, and we're going to be going over a couple things that have come to our attention over the past 24 hours in regards to NASA and the ISS footage that we just released earlier, about 24 hours ago to be specific. And also, Into Thin Air has some videos that he's been putting up on his YouTube channel, and we're going to be going over some of the evidence that Into Thin Air has been bringing to the table. It's quite interesting. So basically, guys, buckle up. It's going to be an incredible ride. And then after we go over the evidence with Richard Giordano from GoofOn, we're going to be bringing in Jeremy from Alien Scientist. Jeremy, he's got a degree in physics, and he's got some things to bring to the table in regards to the cover-up. If there is indeed a massive cover-up of Roswell, what happened to the debris, where it was taken, and some big implications tonight. So let's get to the first video right now of what we're talking about and bring it into the stream. And guys, remember we showed this to you last night, and we were trying to actually find out to get to the original source. That was what we've asked the public. And in this video, the person that's shooting this actually pans down to reveal the actual timestamp of this recording from the ISS. There it was. Let me bring that up and see if I could pause. It's tricky. Wow, I did it one time. That's pretty good. And we're doing this live. So if you're joining us from around the world, just tell us where you're chiming in from. We'd like to see all of the participants into this phenomenon, the questions that we want answered. But again, back to this. May 25th, 2022. This is when the live stream happened of this event. And then we have this object, which is pretty interesting. And there is some new videos that we're going to be presenting tomorrow in regards to what we think this could be. And it could be some kind of secret experiment going on, some kind of tether. Who knows what's going on? But I don't think this is a reflection coming from within the lens itself. And then what's interesting, as we jump a little bit into this portion of the video, we're looking at these objects. We have 3 of them. And then when he pans to the left, we see these 2 come into frame. Again, we're trying to track down the original video. And let's bring in Richard Giordano first off. Hey, Richard from GoofOn. Hey, man, how you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me.
So you're coming in a little blurry there.
Yeah. Don't know why that happens. Okay.
There you go. Hey, it's interesting, right? Because we released this video 24 hours ago, and we're talking about it last night over the phone on we're going to find the original source of this video, because right now we're just getting a second source from a person just shooting his television screen as this was going on May 25th. And, this is what happened. Just take a look at, I did my research, and I'm trying to pull up the actual the full video, the original source. Here it is. Watch what I'm doing here. So this is the stream, and as you can see in the bottom, it says it's been streaming since the 22nd. I think hopefully you could see that. And then I go back in time to try and get to the 25th, but it's not allowing me to get there. And this is interesting. Even though the stream says that it's been streaming since the 22nd of May, we're unable to obtain the footage from the 25th. So it seems that they're like almost making it hard and difficult for us to even get to the original source.
If
Like
that doesn't say,
22nd.
I mean, that's crazy. You know, you can do that. You can go back and look at all their other videos and live streams and go right through every day. But just when that object is there and the other is on the side and it's missing, yeah, that's a little bit conspiratorial in my opinion. They're hiding something. I thought that may have been a lens flare or reflection off the ISS, but after seeing that, I'm kind of a little curious now. And of course, you know, there's some videos out there that have similar looking qualities to that blue thing, but I don't know what those other objects are. I've never seen anything like that.
Look at this.
So,
like
yeah.
This is so bizarre. Again, we just want to find out if it's indeed on the original video itself from NASA. It's crazy that
And you
we're
can't
unable
find it.
to. We can't find it. And again, they said that it was streaming since the 22nd of this month. So I don't know why we can't get back to the 25th. We've done a lot of enhancements of these ISS videos over the years. And again, I want to thank some of the super chat that's coming in. Michael Parker, appreciate the $5. Please do an expose on the tether incident of 95. They never gave a plausible explanation of what that incident was all about. That's a good suggestion. And again, we're going to be bringing up some video tomorrow in regards to what this blue thing could be, because we may have found it. And I think NASA's got some explaining to do.
So do you think, and I don't know if we talked about this privately, but could that be the tether that escaped from the STS?
Did they recently do a tether incident just recently?
No, from 95 or whenever that
could it be
one
the
was.
same one? Wow.
What if it is? I mean, we
know
never
if it
heard
ever
what
came
happened.
down. Was it burned up in the atmosphere? Did it ever re-enter? We don't have these answers, right?
I looked a lot and I didn't find any news on that re-entry. Maybe somebody else found it. I didn't.
So you know what we're doing? We're asking the public for help, and some people have offered help in regards to obtaining this footage from May 25th of this incident on the ISS, so we could obtain the original footage. So if anybody recorded this, or you could somehow get back to some of those ISS live feeds that date back to the 25th on that timestamp, and then we might be onto something. Because we actually, when we do this episode tomorrow, we're going to be bringing in some of the possibilities behind what we think we're seeing here. So it's pretty cool, man. Let's see.
Okay, only NASA, right? NASA, never a straight answer. And we just got an example of that. It's amazing.
Let's bring this in. You know, Into Thin Air has been doing a lot of good work out there, and he came to us via our email. I think he reached out to you today. We're going to share some of his footage that he wants us to go over. Into Thin Air, he's got a pretty cool YouTube channel, and I'm glad we're collaborating with him, along with a lot of people in this UFO community on YouTube. There's some good people on this platform. Let's bring this up.
This is crazy.
Whoop, there it is.
As I was watching the sun for different filament, explosions, CMEs, you name it, these are cameras I watch on a daily basis, and I could not help but notice this shape that began to form and then held place long enough as if it was sticking out of the sun to get its picture taken. And there was no way that I was going to pass up the opportunity to take that picture. And with a little enhancements and minor changes to the already existing image, this quite literally looks like some sort of being or creature that is just forming or popping out of the sun. I didn't know if my eyes were playing tricks on me or what, but every time I looked at this picture over and over again, I could not help to notice how perfect of a shape it took to look as if it's some sort of being, or at least got lucky enough to catch this perfect image and absolutely not have to share this with you all. Now let's...
You know, it's really cool. The pareidolia effect is kicking in, but it's really neat how we managed to capture this and do this enhancement. And there you go. What do you think it looks like, Rich? Do we got to spell it out for everybody?
it looks like, you know, there's so many people trying to talk to aliens. It's almost as if one popped out of the sun and just said, hey, take a look at this for a second. You know, it's, yeah, it is a little bit of pareidolia, but what if it's, we can't dismiss anything anymore. I'm learning, but especially with the sun, we've seen objects go in and out of the sun. Certain things come, and you'll see in this video here, other objects zooming by. This looks like an alien. You have the chest plate, the arms, the shoulders, a little bit of a hand with some, fingers or whatever, and a big head. It's amazing. It's crazy. It is.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's pareidolia, but what if it isn't?
Yeah, and it's a solar flare, obviously, in my opinion. And nothing is, it's not a creature the size of, this would be something massive, 10, 20 Jupiter-sized in length. It's just crazy on that dimension.
Fun.
But you just never know. We don't know the secrets of the universe. There could be creatures or life forms that big. We just
the weird thing is he stopped it. How did he know to stop it right there? It's like some people are good at clouds and things like that. Like we all can do that. But the sun with a lens flare and stopping it like that. I mean, yeah, I know it's pareidolia more or less, but I don't know. Like, what if it's a mental message or something?
Stuff. And please feel free to share these images, post them yourselves if you
bringing
want
up
to
to
give
the
credit
table
to the
here.
channel. That would be wonderful. But it's not just these sun filaments that were very cool. We've been catching things that quite literally look like ships shooting past the sun. But again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to show you some of the new ones I have captured over the past few days. And I'm very aware that some people out there believe these are just anomalies or camera glitches. But some of the detail that is captured in some of these what look to be streaking objects either next to the sun or shooting out of the sun are quite amazing to look at. In fact, in this new image right here, you can see that it is clearly not coming from the sun, but it is shooting up past the right side of the sun. I added the Earth scale there just for some reference, even though we can't tell how close or far back these things are to really be able to use the Earth as a tool. But nonetheless, these things capture my attention every time I see them. In fact, in this image right here, which I haven't shared with you yet, we can clearly see that it's either in front of the sun or being shot out of the sun. I tend to believe that these are separate objects that just happen to be caught with these certain filters of the SDO satellite cameras. And please take the time to go back and forward in this video so you can re-look at these images, because a lot of them have different shapes to them. In fact, this is Earth as a tool, but nonetheless, these things capture my attention.
Images coming in from Soho, the NASA cam out there keeping its eye on the sun. We for over a decade, we've been sharing this on Third Phase Moon, these kind of anomalies. And I'm digging some of these. They resemble craft. I don't think they're planets, stars. What's your thoughts here, Rich?
I can only echo what you're saying. What I like is the tail on this. It's very, very rigid. It doesn't look like it spreads out like it's... Yeah, it's just weird. Could these be things ejected out of the sun and are just getting whipped around by the gravity? And I don't know. We need more data, but man, look how big that is.
And again, the massive amount of information captured by Soho and people that are constantly looking at Soho for these kind of anomalies. You got these investigators that really are bringing it to the table. And we're looking at these. And again, I don't think NASA's really given us anything official in regards to some of these anomalous objects. And to imagine the size on these things, there's the Earth scale right there. So this is an Earth-sized craft, if that's what it is. Let's bring in Jeremy from Alien Scientist, and he's staying by. We're going to be getting into some of his opinions in regards to the Roswell, but let's just bring him in and don't go yet, Rich. I just want to get some of Alien Scientist opinions on what he just saw. What are you doing over there? Eating cereal?
Oh, I was just getting a snack between streams. I just was on my channel for like 2 hours live, so I was just, preparing myself.
Welcome to the show, man.
That looks like a giant cereal bit floating by the sun, huh? Or what about the alien on there that looked like, John Lear was the guy that said there was people living on the sun, but they'd be like, that alien had to be like 5 times, that like the size of Jupiter or something, right?
Yeah, I'd say
scale of that.
Yeah, let's bring it back, because it is kind of interesting on how we did find it.
It looks like a phoenix. like a bird, you know, the phoenix rising from the ashes with like a mushroom cloud over its head or something.
Yeah, that's I'd say probably at least 5 or 6 sizes of Jupiter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at the size, the curvature of the sun versus the size of it. Yeah, it's totally huge. But yeah, these are very interesting anomalies. You know, I'm not a solar astronomer or nothing or anything. I don't claim to, you know, have that kind of expertise. I've been more into,
Yeah.
you know, researching the physics of like the black world and the secret programs, and I'm more into like where does the classified stuff go, and how does it become classified, and you know, where are all these UFO secrets hidden, and what's the real literature surrounding a lot of that stuff.
That's
And
right. That's right. Well, we're going to dive into that pretty in depthly tonight, and I think we're up to
Oh yeah.
900 live watchers right now. So, guys, appreciate everybody joining us from around the world. Tell your friends we're live on Third Phase Moon. A lot of people just think we're doing these premieres. Now we're actually engaging with the public in real time and getting to your opinions, because we're trying to find the answers like everybody. And you know, one thing about all of us, we're trying to find the truth and get the answers. And there's not many people doing it the way we're all doing it as a collective, and we're keeping our eye on the ball. But let's get into this, and let's get into Roswell real quick and the big cover up of some of those, because we're talking with Jeremy a little bit earlier about some of his theories in regards to this company called Battelle. And we wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit in depth, so people could wrap their minds about certain things about what they may not know about Roswell and where some of these materials were taken. So let's get into that. Let's start off right there. What
Yeah,
makes
well,
you point your fingers at Battelle
well,
for
some of
one?
these things are not just like opinions, though. They're based on a lot of facts. So there was J. Allen Hynek was in charge of the Blue Book investigation. He was the head scientist that was in charge of, you know, investigating all these UFO cases for the U.S. Air Force. And in his notes after he passed away, all his notes and stuff went to Jack Valet. His entire estate went to Jack Valet. And inside of those notes, Jack Valet found something called the Pinnacle Memorandum, which alluded to a second Project Blue Book, which was run in secret parallel to the official one. You know, we know this MJ12 group was this group of these scientists that were basically in the public. They weren't people in the government, but they were scientists from universities who were astronomers or physicists or metallurgists or other stuff, and they comprised this secret college who secretly would investigate UFOs, but publicly would debunk them and encourage people to, you know, that there was all silliness and nonsense and not to look into this kind of stuff. And that's been sort of the history and the background of where this all stemmed from and came from, which is quite interesting. That the metallurgist, the head of this secret Project Blue Book, was the head of Battelle, this guy Howard C. Cross, who was himself a metallurgist, and it would have made sense for, you know, these metals to go into a military-industrial complex insider with metallurgy experience and capabilities for analysis. And also, you know, people that were used to dealing with secret and classified materials, like Battelle built tank armor. You know, they developed the alloys that were used in certain aircraft because, you know, for bulletproof, materials for bulletproof vests. Even, you know, down to the metallurgy of bullets and other things. So like there was a lot of classified metals knowledge that was already kept inside Battelle. They made the demon core for the Manhattan Project, for Christ's sake. The plutonium core for the atomic bomb was made by Battelle. So like this whole facility was built around secrecy, and it really makes sense that this is where the UFO crash programs and retrieval programs might have been hidden early on back in the day, you know, originally back in 1950s when Project Blue Book was going on and they were first investigating this. Because all this kind of blossomed out of Roswell, which, you know, immediately followed the Manhattan Project's culmination in 1945 with the Trinity test, where they exploded the first atomic bomb. And then right after, we're getting spammed hard now. That's how you know we're on some stuff.
He's gone.
So right after the atomic bomb tests happened, that's when these visitors apparently started showing up, and there was 1947. It was a massive wave for sightings that year. That's when the Kenneth Arnold set off that wave of sightings and stuff. And there was another stretch, in 1950s and then 1952, which culminated with that Washington D.C. UFO incident, which was really strange. So these things have, appeared over military bases. They've appeared over the Capitol, and it's been largely covered up by the government and the military. Over the years, there's I think that those are maybe some of the authentic cases, but there is also another element of this where there's a lot of top secret technologies research that goes on, and a lot of this stuff gets blamed on UFOs. It gets blamed on aliens, and that might even be, as Greer says, a lot of the abduction phenomenon and a lot of these things that point to benevolent, evil aliens that are out to, abduct people and impregnate their woman and all this stuff that comes out in these ridiculous disinfo reports that get put out. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I think Battelle is a key to all this, because it goes back to Project Blue Book, and it gives you this whole idea of that they realize that it's easier to hide stuff from the outside of the military oversight and overreach inside of these quasi-governmental organizations, which are actually private, non-profit corporations. So they don't actually have to pay taxes or any of that. And they can operate in outside of FOIAs. You can't even touch these companies with FOIAs because they'll claim it's proprietary information that's for their private corporation and stuff. So super interesting to look at. I think that I know that a lot of the research gets done under these private corporations and these outside entities. And a lot of it hasn't even been done at area. A lot of it was done at Area 51 up until like the late 80s, and then that all ended when that kind of the popularity of that blew out of the water with the Bob Lazar case and everything, and a lot of the stuff was moved into other locations and stuff. And I know that originally Roswell materials were shipped to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was they originally shipped from Roswell Air Force Base, which again, Roswell was head of the atomic bomb squadron. So there's a reason that they were showing up and looking at Roswell, is because they were watching what our atomic bomb developments and our military movements with the atomic bombs, because that first bomb test is what attracted them to the planet, likely. I mean, I'm not just I'm speculating on this as a scientist. I'm not saying this is definitively what it is, but this is what the conclusion that I've sort of the best case scenario for all this. If they're
Have you ever tried to reach out to anybody that worked at Battelle? Have you gotten to any of the employees there?
We have not yet, and that might be a good idea. I'd like to, because they're private. They're tax exempt because they're basically an educational and community outreach organization. So if they're not open with talking with the public, then that would basically forfeit their nonprofit status. So yeah, they're almost obliged to talk to us and open their doors to someone like me to educate us on this kind of stuff. And I think that it would have been a good place to put this stuff originally, but I don't think it stayed there. I don't think it stayed at Battelle much longer than a little bit after that. Once that Pinnacle memorandum leaked, in the Hynek's notes or whatever, and they got wind of that would have been my key to move the program if I was in the intelligence, and security handling of that program, right? Just think about it. As soon as that Pinnacle memorandum leaked, it would be like, all right, well, time to move the goods, and they would move them somewhere else. So I it's a good thing to go after this, and I stress it. But yeah, I think it's morphed into other things. Maybe with this Wilson leaks, might give us some insight into where those crash recovery programs are today.
Absolutely. And let me quickly thank Memo Type for the $10 super chat. And ET's been treating this planet like a petri dish for millennia, and our government has been in contact with been in contact, the pyramids, Machu Picchu, etc., millennia and old and rediscovered. Well, yeah, we're trying to super appreciative of the super chat. It's interesting though. Again,
The
these people that
materials
work,
are beyond proof of what we're trying to prove this to Congress. All the videos we can argue, we'll show them the best video in the world, and they'll come back and be like, it's birds, or it's bugs, or it's this, or it's that. And if we have UFO medals from a crash site that we can come in and be like, look, here's documented debris from a UFO. That's undeniable. That is the best possible evidence that we could present, and we have to go after those organizations that would have held the medal or hold the medal. And going back, I think, to the fact that this hasn't been taken seriously by Congress in over 50 years since the last cover-up, with the last Project Blue Book, which was the last cover-up. And what we're seeing today is Project Blue Book 2.0, or maybe 3.0.
do you think there's like people that are retired from Battelle that maybe we could get in contact with? And
well, this is how a lot of this information leaked out, because Irina Scott,
these people.
Irina Scott is out there. You could probably get an interview with her. She was retired from Battelle. She's got to be like 80 in her 80s now. Irina Scott is the one that went and started interviewing a lot of these guys during the during the 90s who worked at Battelle during, because a lot of the guys that worked there in 47 and 49 when they would have gotten the materials, right, up until probably about 10 years after, when they would have probably moved the program somewhere else in, the mid 60s at the very latest. So you're talking, right? So a lot of those guys who would have worked on those programs, and even if they were in their early 20s back then, they were in their 90s in the 90s. So they're all dead now. There's no tracking those guys down, but there might be some people who worked at those companies that know something. If the goods are still there, who knows? They might have gone to some of these other more specialty corporations or entities. And they might be doing it through the universities, like slowly too. They might have changed up the strategy of how they leak this stuff out or got this stuff out, or they might not have leaked. They might have stopped leaking out at a certain point when they realized, we can't let too much of this information out or too much, technology out. And there's really, I've tried to go through the evidence, and I found most of this technology comes from man-made sources. It's all, it can all be traced back through the literature to human ingenuity, and there's no evidence in the record scientifically of any of it coming from aliens. And I kind of used Corso's as an example. You have this high-ranking officer who's head of the material command at the U.S. Air Force at the time of Roswell, coming forward and writing a book and saying that it was aliens and we reverse all engineered all this technology from them. It's kind of important and worth listening to. That happened in '97, but again, all the examples that he cited didn't actually hold up, except the one example of nitinol wire. And nitinol wire is super interesting. It's a memory metal. It's a shaped memory metal, and it can actually deform it. You can bend the crap out of it, and then you heat it up, and it snaps back into in its original shape. And it's super interesting material for if you wanted to build a spacecraft, because you could just dent the crap out of it, and it would just bounce. You could just heat it up, and it would bounce back into shape. Which is kind of interesting in terms of some of the witness descriptions for how the doors in these craft open. Like it could be just a memory metal that they're heating up and causing it to fold, and they create these. They take this memory metal and they put two different metals of a different alloy on either side, and it makes these temperature gauges and temperature sensors. And there's all kinds of interesting things that they can do with these metals. But if you trace back the research on titanium nickel alloys, it goes back to John Elroy Center at Battelle, who is the guy that told Irina Scott in the 90s that he was handed pieces of this memory foil that he couldn't break or cut, and he was tasked with to try to figure out
down,
what it was.
Jeremy.
Yeah,
go deep with this stuff. That's what I like about Jeremy. He's done a lot of research in the background of where it all went. And what is this? Outliers, Jeremy. Are you now part of Third Phase of Moon? We're just We've been talking with Jeremy for a long time and having a great conversation.
I talk to everyone in ufology, and I'm trying to bring us all together on common ground, because our real, there's a lot of infighting and drama in this field, and it really, at the end of the day, it's a lot of that's orchestrated and organized by the trolls behind the scenes to get us all fighting amongst ourselves. We really need to come together right now, harder than ever, and just nail it to this government on this cover-up. Because we all know what's going on. We all know they're lying. They're lying still. They're lying through there's no way that these Pentagon intelligence officials can be this stupid. It's all an act. And we need to get the right questions in and stop letting people like Jeremy Corbell get the microphone and the limelight, because he's what I call the false champion. They're going to promote him as this guy. He promotes himself on these channels like I feel like Mike Tyson versus a 4-year-old. Is what he said. That's his words, not mine. And I just cringe at this stuff, and it's like, no, your stuff was debunked, dude. Like, pass the microphone to someone more competent. There's this people with so much better information than you. We're going to you get me, this Jeremy. You get Jeremy Riss of Alien.
The other
Scientist.
Jeremy, not this Jeremy. Got it. Yeah, the alien scientist.
No, I know it. Corbell's.
What's this guy? Memo types giving a little super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was going to get to this, and maybe let's just ask Rich on this as well about the source of this material, as Dr. Greer would say, material. Is it ET, or is it maybe something that has been, buried away long ago, like what he's saying, something like ancient, thousands and thousands of years old of technology that maybe they recovered, and it has nothing to do with ET. Your thought process on the possibilities of that, Rich?
Yeah, well, thank you. I think it's possible, but we don't have any evidence that I've seen that says it's definitely from archaeological dig sites or anything like that. But we've heard those stories throughout the years. Antarctica, under the ocean, in the ocean, in caves, and maybe even the moon. But it's just something that's been said, and I still don't know where that evidence is. I mean, we could look at ancient technology and say it's alien, but people have been debunking ancient alien stuff forever. And I used to think the same thing. Like, it must be
There
aliens,
has to,
but
like, if you think about it, though, if there's like Star Wars level civilizations out there somewhere fighting Star Wars, there's got to be like debris that floated around and has crashed to Earth. I mean, just think about all the meteors and all the stuff. Think about the galactic space battles, where there's has to be like some piece of debris that fell to Earth, even if it happened 1 million years ago. There's got to be something out there that's been recovered like that. Like, if it exists, right? Theoretically, it's had to, if it's out there in the record, it's got to have fallen. There's a couple examples of things like that, like carbonado diamonds, for example. They can be structurally harder than regular diamonds, but only directionally, and they're like an 11 on the Mohs hardness scale, and they're literally found only 2 places on the planet, I think Brazil and Central African Republic, and there's no geological explanation for how they got there. In fact, there's an extraterrestrial hypothesis that some geologists have, saying that they're meteors that crashed to the Earth a couple billion years ago and are just now part of the geological record. But if I was going to build a spacecraft, man, I would build it out of carbonado diamonds, because
How much would that cost?
Well, I mean, if you got manufacturing in space and some of these technologies, it doesn't cost hardly anything. It's all
gravity could be a bitch, and then working in outer space really complements construction and building of these kind of craft.
Asteroid mining too. You got real access to a lot of expensive materials that would have otherwise cost you, much more. So,
what about the thought process that maybe somebody cracked the code? Like, they've been spotted for a while. These Tic Tacs, 100 years ago, they've been seen. When did we crack the code? If it's indeed maybe something that was maybe recovered military experimental craft that was spying on the U.S. in 47 and crashed over the U.S. And they're just like, they recovered the equivalent of when we had a drone that was recovered in Iran when they shot one down, or they shot one down, and then they reverse engineered it. Then we had to figure out a whole new design of our drone because they recovered our technology. Could it be that we recovered possibly some some technology that somebody again cracked the code on. And again,
Again, it's
everybody, we're up to
possible,
1,000
and
live
a lot.
watchers here. Appreciate everybody and the support.
That's a
and the
hypothesis
super
that's
stickers.
often forwarded by a lot of people above the alien hypothesis, because realistically, everyone says, well, if they can travel all these, they have such technology, warp drives, they would need warp drives to get here, right? So if they have warp drive technology and all this sophisticated technology, then why did they crash? You know, so like, well, they're either von Neumann probes and they're just like these stupid droids that are like here exploring and replicating themselves in our oceans and stuff, like, which is one hypothesis, or they're yeah, again, man-made, some breakaway civilization or man-made technology from somebody else here on Earth, you know, that they're building. So those are the two most plausible explanations, because, you know, if they're super advanced, you know, aliens and stuff, then why are they crashing? And if they are crashing, then they got a mothership nearby to go and recover those alien bodies.
Just like our drone was pretty, you know, worth a lot of money. We spent millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion, developing these drones, and that, you know, they either get shot down, there's malfunctions. I'm sure ET is capable of making mistakes as well.
But
they come across a scenario, some maybe a lightning bolt may have struck it down. Some people say it was, and or maybe an EMP blast, that may be a nuclear blast, maybe.
Right.
Malfunction the craft. There's so many
advanced does
possibilities.
not mean perfect, man. So they have a lot of advanced technology, and I think a lot of that explains, you know what, I found that if you are really informed on the technologies that are out there in aerospace intelligence, you could probably explain, you know, 95% of the cases, and then there might be that, you know, 5% that's outside of that, which is allegedly what these DoD people are saying when they say, you know, that we have these things that, you know, they defy our known technologies, that they're saying that they're aware of all that technology, and that they're saying this is not spoofing, it's not, you know, hypersonics, which, by the way, the Chinese and the Russians demonstrated hypersonic technology ahead of the U.S. Technologically wise. So we're actually behind in the aerospace race technologically, if you consider that. Which is kind of puzzling if we're supposedly have alien technology that we're working on and these missing, you know, trillions that are going towards it. So there's a lot of questions here, you know, that need to get answered in congressional hearings, and they're only going to get answered if we ask the right questions. You're muted, Blake.
We're live, and yeah, I make mistakes. Some people think we're aliens too, so it's pretty funny. But anyway, the idea of what we're trying to do right here is we're trying to find out what NASA is trying to hide from us about this video that we put out last night in regards to trying to obtain the original source from May 25th. And again, we're trying to get the help from the public. I'm hoping we could get some results on that. But
oh yeah, I'd heard that NASA just finally joined the look for UFOs. That's cute, huh? It's not like they weren't looking for them all along, you know.
Yeah, that's
ever before.
They haven't been looking for aliens all along.
They'd never done any research into UFOs before or anything.
They just want to launch rockets, and that's it, and stare at dead planets.
Yeah, never a straight answer, right, guys? It's kind of like, you know, the government investigating themselves, you know. That's the way I look at it. It's, you know, we're gonna trust the government to investigate themselves, which the majority of this, I think, is them. It is ourselves. But there is some of this stuff that predates, you know, of course, a lot of the technology. I mean, the UFO is a phenomenon that goes back to the late 1800s, and there's Foo Fighters in World War II that really difficult
paintings
to explain a lot of these things, and unless they were just pure hallucinations or things that were made up by the pilots. But, you know, again, multiple witnesses, there's radar, other things like that. So there's you know, Project Blue Book was started for a reason. I don't think, you know, the Air Force would have taken this that seriously if it wasn't a real issue, but it was obvious that that was a cover-up, that they hired all these top scientists like who's Alfonso, the balloon scientist that did all the Project Mogul weather balloons. They actually he was a big UFO debunker, and he was one of the head guys they hired to do the project. And there was another CIA Durant, Fred Durant was his name, I think. Yeah, and this is all the guys that took place in the Robertson panel, which concluded that that the public wasn't ready for UFO disclosure. They weren't ready for the idea that we weren't alone in the universe. That would break down religions and religious barriers and cultural barriers and all kinds of things. It would just destroy our civilization as we know it. And it was decided that it was best to kind of keep this information from the public and let humanity do its thing and eat Tide Pods and all the silly things that humans would rather do than.
Pods? Come on, what's wrong with you, man?
Sorry, I like to throw in some random humor and just to make sure people are paying attention.
Hey, thanks,
Jeremy,
Mystic
question.
15 for the super chat. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
I just want to know. I'm just curious what you think. Why did we have these congressional hearings now? Could that be because some things are leaking out from Battelle or somewhere else, or is it a political push just for the threat assessment to get more funding?
Well, there is that element, the threat escalation, and to get more funding for DoD projects to fight the next war and the next battlefield. And space has a lot to do with that. Obviously, it's creation of the Space Force. Trump made a Space Force. We don't create a new military division on if we're not going to fight wars on that battlefield, in the future. So I think there's some of that to, certainly Greer talks about that with regards to some Disclosure Project witnesses, including Carol Rawson, who was really close with Werner von Braun, who, ran corporation think tanks. These are the same guys that basically they're basically planning to use all this spoofing equipment to fake alien invasion and stuff, and then use that as this rallying point to install a world government. And there's some really crazy conspiracy theories surrounding it, but it's not outside
crazy.
Not outside the wheel box anymore with the events of the last 2 years and everything that's going on with that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that people are questioning the science. You should always question the science, and always ask questions. And this is this science on the UFOs is that there is this element to quantum mechanics that says that we can make things digital, and as we increase our nanotechnology and our metals knowledge of these materials, then we can create metals that can actually warp the fabric of space-time and digitally affect the vacuum structure around the craft, so that we could actually bend space-time or light around the craft and alter gravity in these strange new ways. And there's a lot of interesting research that's been done into that, but I think it's super compartmentalized in that it's so stovepiped and hidden so. I think the CIA is so afraid of it, and it's been so secret that not even their own people are allowed to really put the pieces together on this, and that it's an effort of this community coming together to link up a lot of the great minds and put all these pieces together, that we're finally coming out with this. And hopefully, I think within the next 5 years, we're going to have some very interesting experiments to show off and show with the stuff that we're working on the scientific realm with regards to this. But again, there's a lot of things that need to happen with regards to transparency, and those metals, wherever they are, what we could learn from just studying a piece of metal from a UFO, man.
We need the bodies.
We need the bodies. That's where it's in any investigation. That's the real question: is where are the bodies?
Where are the bodies? Well, what a great discussion this was tonight. We have 1,100 plus people joining us, and people are really interested in the subject matter, and people are saying we need to do these live events a little more often. And guys, we want you to continue to jump in as we put the evidence out and give your ideas, suggestions. I know we just touched a little bit on Battelle, but we'll have to save that for another episode. But wow, things are changing. And tomorrow, again, we're going to be presenting evidence of what we think this blue streak of light that's just hanging there. And hopefully we could obtain the original evidence. And it's going to be kind of interesting, and love to get you guys' thoughts. Any last words there, Rich, on some of the evidence? And again, we wanted to thank Into Thin Air for submitting some of his Soho discoveries. You're good, Rich?
Well,
That's
yeah,
it?
just
Come
do
on,
your own
man.
research. That's all I tell everybody. Do your own research. Don't take our word for it. So maybe you can find something we missed. So just do your own research and go on that. Good judgment always works.
That's right.
Yeah, I
Now,
remember
scientist, what are you working on? You got something? I know
Battelle
we did
owns.
Go ahead.
Battelle manages all of pretty much all of our national labs. So Los Alamos National Labs, Oak Ridge, all of our science institutions are managed by Battelle. And there's these patent holding companies at each one of those institutions, which is designed to is a catch-all for any type of invention that has national security interests or things like this. So anytime one of our scientists or top scientists who work at these national labs were to invent, free energy device or anti-gravity device, there's these whole system in place to make sure that information can get scooped up and won't reach the public. It's just contrived by design. It's so crazy how stovepiped and secret all this has become, and it really needs to end for the sake of American progress, because we're losing defense races because our science is held back because it's so secretive and there's no communication that not only we're not educating the American public and treating them like children who don't deserve this information, we're not educating the next future of scientists and defense contractors and developers. The kids that are growing up today that are supposed to build these weapons of the future or use these technologies of the future to hopefully not build weapons, to build peace, and because everyone's wanting to ban assault rifles. They don't understand the technology that's out there now that makes assault rifles look like bows and arrows. It's ridiculous. We need to take this much more seriously than any issue that's currently in the news or the media right now, and we need to move forward unilaterally to push for disclosure and using these technologies to bring peace to the world. Because if we don't, then we're all going to just kill each other, and it's going to be we could build a paradise right now, and we could go to space and literally explore space and build space stations and do all this amazing stuff if we could just push this disclosure boulder over the edge of that mountain that we've worked so hard.
Like we've been saying for a decade. I want my own Millennium Falcon, man. Come on. We could all do it.
Yes.
And we've been laser focused on this for over a decade plus. Rich has. And maybe more and more people are going to be laser focused on the subject matter, and not be so tongue in cheek about it. And just where we've been looking at this, and people thought this was a joke. This channel is a joke. Everything about UFOs is a joke. It's not a joke. It's a serious. And we know we found out a long time ago when we started interviewing the eyewitnesses and the testimony that this is serious subject.
That's how I got into this back in the day, man, with Edgar Fouché, a former Area 51 employee. The guy talked about quasi-crystals and metamaterials back in 1998. And he talked about that whole TR3B with the mercury plasma engine, and we just figured out the physics behind how that could possibly work, and we've linked it to papers on bipolaron superconductors. Okay, they're called bipolaron superconductors, and you pressurize mercury and ammonia, and you create a superconductor at room temperature. And they were working on this back in the day with these rotating superconductors, and it goes back to like the 1960s and stuff that we found. So the TR3B might actually be a real
TR3B,
craft.
That's the mercury-based charged. Yep. I've been getting some information a little bit more and more trickling in about this mercury-based nuclear whatever. I'm not the scientist, you are, but we might be able to send some of this over to you so you can take a look at it.
We're going to do the experiments. We have actually something to test now, and we're going to try to cryogenic temps, not room temp. Sorry, it's still it does have super cooling, like all the elements that he described in the operation of that magnetic flux field disruptor on the TR3B. There might be some real science to that we're learning now. So we have actually something to test, and we're going to test it, man. And if we get anti-gravity, we're going to be the first ones to let the world know. And I hope you guys will be there to help us with disclosure when it does happen. Because we're going to let it. We want it to go out to the world. We don't want it to sign an NDA or try to sell it
Yeah,
to the highest
we'll get
bidder.
it out. We'll get it out. They can't stop it, and we've got to do it in almost.
They
in a way
cannot
so
stop
fast
this
that
now,
They can't
Blake.
stop it.
This is going too far. We are coming together as a team in ufology, and we're unstoppable force if we all work together. Because no one's smarter than all of us together, and no one reaches more people and gets the right message out there than all of us working together. So we're so close. I can just smell the disclosure. Can you?
Rich has been skeptic of disclosure for a long time, but hey, you just never know. And we're looking, and I think there's a little movement. There is a change in movement, a thought process, a little bit over.
They'll
the past,
find a way to cover
year.
it up, man. I doubt any of this will ever make it to the hearings, and I just wonder what's going to happen at the next series of hearings, and if we can get through with some of this information, reach these senators with it, and that's all I've been trying to do is reach my own senators, but none of my district, unfortunately, is not in the district of some of the people looking into this stuff, but one of the things is that a lot of them are from Ohio. So it would be important to reach out to them in Ohio and let them know that, hey, you know, one of the organizations that might have been central to this cover-up is operating right in your district, under your noses, like Stephen Greer said. So,
Yeah.
Well, guys, you guys be cool. Keep up the good work. Everybody, appreciate everybody joining us, and everybody check out Alien Scientist and Richie at Goofon. We're going to be supplying the original links to their channel. And man, make sure you subscribe, show them some love, tell them Third Phase of Moon sent you. And, you know, thanks again, guys. So again, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting some new information in regards to some of the evidence of this NASA footage. And guys, if you could find out and get the source material, as Dr. Greer would say, this video from May 25th, and get it to us right away, and just send us the original footage where you could find it. NASA filmed it. It's out there, but we're having a hard time acquiring this footage. And we want to thank everybody in the everybody in the chat. Good questions, good atmosphere, healthy. There was a couple little trolls in there. We got rid of them real quick. And also the super chats. It really helps the cause, and we appreciate the backup from you guys, the public. You guys be safe out there. We're going to be, again, seeing you tomorrow. So if you've captured anything, upload that YouTube video to YouTube, copy paste that link to my email. It's in the description. Don't forget the merch, Third Phase of Moon Buckle Up. It's right there. The store is open. That's also in the link, and you could get all kinds of cool Third Phase of Moon merch right now. Hoodies, t-shirts. I like it. It fits pretty good, but there's some room on it. So, you know, we've got some new merch coming up too, and a new music video coming up as well. But you guys be safe. We'll see you real soon. Take care.
Let's just go down the rabbit hole here for a second. Let's just assume this is some sort of adversarial or foreign technology.
Most of the more than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades are not from the U.S. military or other advanced U.S. government technology.
It's right in front of me. It just disappeared. Like gone.
To be clear, he's referring to this giant object as a tic tac, as he said it was shaped like one.
We're in, that we don't know what these things are, and they might even be extraterrestrial. That's worse.